Hey guys, it's Steel. Regarding this whole economy fiasco going on with War Thunder at the moment, I have been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes from, well, the YouTube side of things that many other YouTubers have not covered. And I do not blame them for not covering it, obviously. I'll get to that later. As I would assume most of you watching this may know by now, there has been a community formed by War Thunder players called the War Thunder Player Union. And what I believe initially started off as kind of a joke has now quickly accelerated into an actual community-backed movement. A movement which not only includes the Western consumer base of the game, but it includes the Eastern, the Russian, as well as the Asian communities. Upon my investigation of the Discord, I quickly realized that there wasn't much organization, there wasn't really an end goal in sight. It was mainly just a way for all of the people that were participating in this team review bombing to kind of just congregate and spread the word about player frustration regarding the economy and Gaijin's recent antics. I quickly volunteered to step up and try to get some sort of direction going with a proper suggestions list. I have spent the last few days, quite literally from morning till night, participating in Discord, stage Q&A sessions, and a bunch of other just general discussions, trying to take all of the ideas that people had and slowly but surely trimming the fat, let's say, or the bloat from a suggestions list, quite frankly full of just a lot of random things that don't really have much to do with the economy or gameplay changes that directly affect the economy and vice versa. I am in no means intending to give off the impression that I know 110% what is best for the game. I'm just merely one content creator with some knowledge trying to, give the wider community that may not know as much about, well, the inner workings of Gaijin or how they treat these things with a bit more insight. Also, speaking of other content creators, I'm not going to pretend that I speak for 100% of all of them for their individual feelings on the boycott or, pretty much anything going on here, because most other content creators have produced videos or live streams clearly laying out a lot of their opinions on the matter. But from most of the content creators that have involved themselves with the War Thunder Player Union, it has mainly come from a standpoint of just some advice and insight, not really directly taking a role in producing the document that the rest of us came up with. They're just merely there. They agree with the sentiment and that, Gaijin, this is a long time coming, but they don't want to actively involve themselves in some sort of, formal suggestion to Gaijin. And I do not blame them for being cautious. I believe that what I'm doing is actively putting my content creator status at risk, and I am fully aware of that. However, I just saw a very disorganized movement, and I think it needed some kind of, quite frankly, just leadership. There was no leadership in this movement. It was quite simply just a bunch of people saying, we don't like what's going on here, I'll make our voices heard, without the actual contingency of, well, what do we do? We can write a bunch of suggestion lists all day long, but without some sort of medium to actually bring that to Gaijin's attention, I mean, what do you really have? It's not like the community has, in this consistent loop of just insanity, constantly said, well, we want economy changes, and Gaijin goes, okay, we hear you, we'll figure something out. And then what they add is something that is, quite frankly, anti-player, so they can make money for their bottom line. And look, I mean, this is just personal opinion here, but I don't think Gaijin's bottom line is at threat at all if the game's progression was just reasonable. You have had exponentially more vehicles added to the game every single year. You have exponentially more players than the game ever had, even pre-COVID. COVID was a big deal here. There is simply no reason that the game's progression should be this predatory. You have more customers than ever, most of them new, and yet you are actively trying to just siphon every single fucking dollar out of your players to the point where you just blindly, ignorantly, arrogantly pushed changes into a game that made not only free to play completely pointless, but even paying for your game not lucrative. There was no reward. You were breaking even. And most people that are above average can attest to this. It's fucking absurd, Gaijin. It is unacceptable. We understand. We're not 12. We know how free-to-play games work. We know how they're monetized. But you just took a game and made it pay to play. Free-to-play. This is the most predatory practice of free-to-play games ever, is to make it seem that the game is pay to play and not reward your players. Because guess what? If your players aren't rewarded, they're not going to end up playing your fucking game when they get sick and tired of it. It's not a goddamn coincidence that when you pushed in those economic changes, everybody unanimously, for the people that actually got to experience it for the few hours it was live, unanimously experienced a significant decrease in earnings with premium, without premium, playing top-end vehicles with the highest reward multipliers in lineups doing well, okay? Or just the best performance that you could possibly achieve in an air battle, for example. Not even to mention that Naval has been the most sunken cost resource mode in this entire game. Gaijin, Naval was a fucking mistake. It takes too many resources and costs too much to make those naval models to please, quite frankly, the minority of a community that can get their enjoyment from plenty of other games, free and paid, that do what you're doing better. It was a waste of time and money, and quite frankly, boo-hoo. If you guys aren't making enough money, it's on you for making business ventures that aren't going to pay you back. And Naval is the prime example of this. And I'm going to say it again. Gaijin, it's not the player's fault, albeit there were requests, for larger capital ships, but it's not the player's fault for you having to fork over the fucking bill to fund something that is a mistake. And that's exactly what you did. That article, whether it was fucking robotically generated or not, given the rumors, I do not care. You gaslit the entire player base, blaming them for your mistakes. Your fucking mistakes, Kirill, Anton, and whoever else pulls the fucking strings of that company. That is a goddamn joke. And the fact that this game is of AAA quality, but is free to play, to hide behind the fact that they make shitty, shady, predatory business decisions, is just quite frankly fucking disgusting. And you should be goddamn ashamed of yourself, and the entire community should feel the exact same way. There is no reason to invest in this Stockholm Syndrome relationship with this video game anymore. From anybody. It does not matter whether you have 400 hours, 4,000 hours, 10,000 hours, you've spent $40 on the game or $40,000 on the game. It does not fucking matter. It's time for people to grow a pair of balls in the gaming industry, have a goddamn backbone, and tell these companies, go fuck yourself. Because at the end of the day, it's a relationship between a producer and a consumer. This is happening on a real-world scale right now with Bud Light, which I'm not going to go into the politics of that, but it fucking works. And to deny that it works, or to take your investment in time in this game and to pretend that that is somehow a justification for a company to keep repeatedly taking advantage of you as a person because they view nothing more than a dollar sign, is just quite frankly embarrassing. And I'm going to be 100% honest with all of you right now. I have been playing what is essentially War Thunder since 2009 when Birds of Steel was released. Okay? I have been playing these games, essentially, Birds of Prey, Birds of Steel, War Thunder, for quite literally half of my life. It should not take you that much time and investment. You should not have to be like me. You should not have to have played a game for half of your life to finally realize that this is bullshit. Now you can just say, well, Steel, why don't you just quit playing the game? Yes, I understand that. But I see the struggle that all of you are going through, and I think you should stand up for yourself. I don't think you should tolerate it. I shouldn't have to make this obvious, but I'm saying what others are thinking. And it's finally time to say it. You have the chance, War Thunder community. You have the chance. Right here, right now. Your Steam review bombings worked. Your voices have been heard. Gaijin is going fucking batshit insane internally, although I'm not going into detail with that, to risk people's jobs and livelihoods. Ironically, this boycott is risking the jobs and livelihoods of those same people in a certain way. but it, of course, is also putting the people that have made these repeat, out of touch, morally absent decisions that have led us to this point. I simply cannot see how a company like this, you know, from developers that have had a over decade passion project in the making, could somehow just, I don't understand. How has it come to this point, Anton, Kirill? How has it come to this point? The community deserves an explanation. If you quite literally aren't making enough money to fund the game, then come out and say it. No veiled threats, no blaming the community. Simply come out and give us one goddamn honest answer. Because I don't believe that this recent post that they said, oh, we're going to start a roadmap, is 100% genuine. The entire community, I am telling you right now, this is the most important thing. You should not trust Gaijin until they actively implement changes that benefit you as a player, while also still allowing Gaijin to make money off of their premiums, premium time, golden eagles, marketplace in a reasonable fashion. You should not take this. And I've already seen all the comments. Everybody, oh my god, yes, Gaijin, finally an apology. It's the standard PR stunt of every goddamn corporation in human existence. And the fact that anybody would buy this, even with a roadmap announced, the fact that anybody buys this as some sort of sincere apology is seriously being naive. And honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if some of those comments were Gaijin generated, making alt accounts and stuff like that. I would not be shocked. This is just a general rule in life. You should always be skeptical of faceless corporations. It doesn't matter whether we know that Anton and Kirill, you know, they have their faces plastered and, oh, the CEO, whatever. At the end of the day, these companies operate as faceless organizations, and you should not trust them with a 10-foot fucking pole. Now, to wrap this video up, while I do believe the boycott, well, the Steam reviews were definitely deserved, and the overall message that Gaijin is getting, again, is deserved, I don't believe the Steam reviews are going to work anymore. I'm just giving this as a suggestion to the wider community and whoever watches this, whoever shares this. If you truly want to see something change and to keep the pressure on, you need to actively not play the game or pay anything in the game, like the new premiums from the new update, and to actively partake in what was originally just supposed to be a day, but now is a 2-week blackout of not playing the game. And it almost lines up with the June 14th deadline, which I believe is technically 2.5 weeks. So please, take this as just a suggestion, community, please. You have to understand, Rome was not built in a day. You should know from Gaijin's track record, it takes them forever to do things. They're not going to just go in, change a bunch of numbers in one day, and they're going to magically change it. You guys can go touch grass for 2.5 weeks, and when we get to June 14th, you can see what Gaijin's going to suggest, and then you go from there. For everyone who watched to this point, thank you for sticking around. I'm very sorry. This may be a painful video for you to hear. Hopefully we can see this through, and we can eventually submit a pretty detailed, essentially a massive development blog post about agreed upon suggestions that should directly affect the economy and improve some gameplay aspects and game modes to hopefully make the game better for everyone.